Hey everyone, in this video we're going to be talking about the three types of athletes or students. Doesn't matter if you're in a recreational program or competitive, it applies to everyone. This is an idea or concept I actually kind of learned about. I think Australia had a program, a coaches training program, and they kind of broke athletes up into this type of understanding. There's a little bit more nuance there, but this is kind of what sparked my thinking as I was running into these problems and looking for different information. And so I'm just shout out credit to Australia's coaching program because and I think it was their entire sports program, not just gymnastics, and it's how they kind of broke students up. And I don't think it just Australia. I believe I also, through studying just information, Japan also kind of does something similar in this understanding of student or athlete development, and probably multiple other countries. But it is in a way of thinking about students and athletes that I didn't really find living in the United States of America. I didn't find it through coaches training. I didn't find it through camps or clinics. This is not a conversation that was really talked about much. And understanding this helped me change my expectations as a coach when I was working with students. And it is a lot closer to under the same, like when you go take a writing class, if you're in a writing class in college or high school, and they'll talk about how you need to know your audience and then write to your audience. Well, as a coach, who's your audience? And are you actually coaching to your audience? And so I'm going to dive in and go into, there's three types of students, and we're going to break it down and understand it because I think this will have a huge impact in your coaching career on changing your burnout. Again, if you are wanting to make a career out of coaching, or you've been doing this for multiple years and you want to know how to have longevity and joy in the process, this is going to shift how you use your energy and effort through your coaching dynamics with your students. So there's three types of athletes, okay? Three types. That's all we got to worry about. Not a big number, okay? We got the repeat yourself athlete. How many of you have a repeat yourself athlete? I remember teaching beam, repeating myself multiple times over the same thing, scratching my head going, is it really that hard? Like, is what I'm asking too difficult to do? Which it's not. I knew it wasn't. It was like point your toes type of thing. It was like, simple stuff, like keep your chin up type of stuff. We're just walking on a beam, stop looking down, just keep your chin up. Simple stuff that they could do. It was at their ability level. They're significantly better than what I was asking, and yet they wouldn't do it. And I'm repeating myself. And I'm going, man, why do I have to repeat myself? And I'm noticing that I have athletes who are already doing the stuff. But here I have the repeat yourself athlete. And so my solution to the repeat yourself athlete, this is what I did. I went into repeat myself more. I went into break it down further. I went into doing more drills. I went into slowing things down. I went smaller and smaller into the solution for the problem. And I still, to no avail, had any sort of consistent success across the board. Yes, maybe one or two athletes would, change, maybe five. Maybe they would all change for the day. Oh my goodness, I got the whole entire group to point their toes when they kick. Isn't this amazing? Come back tomorrow, we're back at square one. Because these are the repeat yourself athletes. Every single day you're going to have to repeat yourself. And it's like, why? Why do I have to do this? And what is it going to take to get these athletes to change? We can get into that. We're going to get into that. But let's go into the next type of athlete. This is the try hard when they want to athlete. Okay? They try hard when they want to. I feel like there's a spelling error on the two, that there should be two O's there instead of one O. Anyways, try hard when they want to athlete. This is the athlete where you know that they can give more than what they're giving. And you have to constantly ask them to try harder. This is not necessarily that you have to repeat yourself. They're consistently them, but they're not consistently their best. And so then you're always like, hey, can you try harder? And so what I did for a solution for the try harder when they want to athletes is I came up with performances. This is where you get into the idea of, maybe we should have games, and then maybe we should highlight kids. You get everyone on a beam and you have everyone watch each other. Now they try hard because they're being watched by their peers, or you have them film each other and then they have to see themselves, and then they try harder because they're being filmed, right? This is I have to do something to get you to perform more. Nothing wrong with it. But this is a type of athlete, and I had to deal with it. Now, this athlete is not the same as the repeat yourself athlete. And then that leads us into, though, the golden child, the athlete we all are like, that's the athlete I want. And this is the student athlete where it's like, why can't everyone else be like you, athlete? That's the kid. This is the kid who's just got the it factor. Why can't everyone else just be like you? And so what do? You're in a recreational class and you got one of these kids, the why can't everyone be like you? And boy, does everybody else just piss you off. I can't believe I got to deal with a repeat myself athlete. I can't believe I got to deal with the kid who doesn't try hard enough until they want to. I got to deal with that person. Why can't everyone just be like everyone be like you athlete? Why can't you all be like that? It's not like they're doing anything hard. They stand when they're supposed to stand. They sit when they're supposed to sit. They point their toes. They jump. They straighten their legs. They throw. Like, they just do what is being asked of it. Doesn't it seem so simple? And so we rack our brains and we come up with a million different ways of how do I get the first athlete to be more like the second athlete to be more like the third. And what do I do? And how do I get this to be figured out? And then this is where we come up with drills and coaching advice. And this is where the just comes in. This is just where you burn so much energy chasing the wrong thing because there's an illusion going on that is not working. And it's not working, and it's very real what I'm talking about because we're all dealing with it. Like, we're all dealing with these three types of athletes. Every single person. Doesn't matter what level you're teaching, doesn't matter what age you're teaching, there are these three different types of students or people. The repeat yourself athlete. The repeat yourself athlete, okay, is the person who really has no ownership of self. They don't have a vision. They're not really there for anything. They're just they showed up. Mom, dad put them in the class. That's where they are. And so you're doing more of a babysitting job for the repeat yourself athlete. And so you think, well, then how do I do things that manage you? Because most of the decisions you will make as a coach is so you can manage your own emotional energy, your own physical energy. And so you're going to go, well, if I have to repeat myself to this person, what should the assignments be so that I don't have to keep repeating myself? So you're going to come up with different ways and creative ways to stop repeating yourself. But the illusion that you have is you think that you as a coach, you think that you have an influence on their success. But think about this. You're actually asking a penguin to behave like a lion. And so what you're doing is you're saying, well, can I get a penguin to do things that a lion can do? Sure. Can a penguin walk? And sort of, it can waddle. Then a lion walks. Okay, they look kind of similar. And so you're trying to make the penguin look like the lion, but they still never become the lion. And so you think you're influencing it. It's still a penguin. And that's the repeat yourself athlete. That's the problem. The try hard when they want to athlete, this athlete doesn't care about you. So when you as a coach show up and you're just like, I'm here every single day showing up, giving my best, I'm applying myself, you need to do gymnastics for me because I said it. And so you give assignments and this is what I said and this is how I want it done and these are the expectations they don't care. They don't care about what your expectations and what it is you want and everything. But the illusion here is they will perform for you. You'll get them to perform. And boy, will you think you've changed something. You're like, I have got this stubborn lion to perform in my circus. Isn't this amazing? Yeah, the lion hates you. It doesn't like you. It doesn't care about you. In fact, the lion will eat you at the first chance it gets. It's not interested. This is the kid who quits your gym because they don't like what you ask them to do. This is the kid where you demand things of them and they show up and perform, but they only do it for so long because realistically they don't want to. And then eventually they find a reason to flip the script on you and blame you for being the reason why they're having a miserable time. Because they try hard when they want to, and they don't want to, and you want them to. And so that becomes the point of contention. And then you become the bad guy. And so then this becomes its own problem. And it's an illusion that you actually think that because you're getting something out of them, you're moving closer to your goal or objective. You're not. You're not. I can just guarantee you that you're not. It's an illusion. Okay? But the illusion is built out of because we have the why can't everyone be like you athlete. Because they exist. We think that because we are doing something, we are saying something, we're creating an assignment, and that athlete is doing it and following directions, and that athlete is successful, we think that we, as coaches, are doing something that's leading to the success of that athlete. And if only everyone just listened to what I said, then they would be successful like this person. And that's not true. Because the fact of the matter is, the illusion is you think you are actually influencing the success of a person. And that's the lie that coaches buy into early on. They think, oh, I have to explain a skill to you and I have to break it down and I have to get you to understand. You know who you have to break a skill down to? The repeat yourself student. You know who I have to break a skill down to? The try hard when they want to student. You know who you don't have to break a skill down for? The why can't you be like everyone else student? Or why can't everyone be like you student? The student that's got the it factor, you spend less time explaining stuff to. You spend less time breaking things down. It's a couple of bits of conversation and boom, they're good. It's simple. Very, very simple. Very, very effortless. And so we see that and then we shift our whole entire coaching methodology for the other two type of athletes because we don't know how to get them to be like the third type of athlete. And we don't really know what's happening. And then there's this power struggle that gets in. You got the parent who's like, well, why can't you just make my athlete better? Clearly, you have the why can't everyone be like you athlete, and they're doing just fine. So what's your problem, coach? Why can't you turn my child into that person? And so you're thinking you're supposed to turn them into that person. And so you're coming up with all these ideas going, how do I get this repeat myself athlete into the why can't everyone be like you athlete? And you don't know what's going on. And you're spending energy trying to transform someone into something that they are not. And that is where the burnout comes. And that's where the point of contention comes. And that's where the parent frustration comes. And that's where coaches don't want to talk to parents. That's where business owners don't want to talk to parents. And that's where everyone just kind of tears each other apart. Instead of identifying a zebra for a zebra and a Dalmatian for a Dalmatian and saying that zebras don't have spots. Stop trying to make me turn a zebra into a Dalmatian. It doesn't matter if I paint it. It's not going to have spots. It's a zebra. And the sooner we can understand that, the better we can be at letting the zebra be a zebra and the Dalmatian be a Dalmatian. And that's what real coaching is. Reading your audience and knowing them so well that you don't coach them into becoming someone that they're not. Now, is it possible for them to transform and go from one to the next to the next? Here's what you have. The three types of athletes. You have a participant, a performer, and a competitor. Those are the three types. Participant, performer, competitor. The participant is somebody that the parents signed them up for a class because the parent's like, I'm tired. They have a lot of energy. I can't keep jumping on the trampoline with them, wrestling with them, taking them to art class, doing all these things. I need somebody else to do something with them. So I'm going to sign them up for a class and they're going to participate. They're going to be present, but I don't know if I'm going to get anything out of them. There's no effort, there's no work, there's nothing attached to it. They just showed up and they're there. That's the participant. You can entertain the participant and they're fine. But that entertainment will not necessarily make them better, nor will it convert them into a competitor. Now, the performer is someone who's gone a little bit deeper. They used to be a participant, but now they like the accolades. They like the celebration. They like the attention. Wow, this feels good. Every time I do something well, people celebrate me. I like that. But the difference is usually with a performer is they have to want to perform. That's the key. So the performer performs on the events that they like, and they do not perform on the events they don't like. They perform really well with the choreography that they connect to, and they do not perform well with the choreography they do not connect to. That's the performer. They want to perform, they want the accolades, but they have to like it to get the best out of their performance. They're still emotionally connected to what they are doing. That's the performer. The competitor doesn't care at all about any of this. The competitor wants to dominate, crush, destroy everyone. The competitor is there not because the competitor feels an elated joy inside their soul and satisfaction of doing something. The competitor is there because the satisfaction comes from making everyone else feel bad. I am better than you. That's the competitor. I am better than you. Now, not in a negative way where they can't have friends and they can't, cheer people on. But there's a drive, a fire, a desire and will inside the competitor that they're willing to do whatever it takes to get where they want to go, no matter how it makes them feel. And so you don't have to remind the competitor to point their toes because they're competing. And they know that if they want to win, they will point their toes. You don't have to remind the competitor to straighten their legs because they're competing to win. And so then they just straighten their legs. You don't even have to remind a competitor to put on the performance act, even if the competitor doesn't like what they're doing, because the competitor is there to compete and win. And so the competitor is the person where you go, man, if everyone could be like you, wouldn't it just be easier? Absolutely. Now, the competitor is the first athlete that I ever coached competitively. So when I first coached competitively, I had a young man. He is about 11 years old, and he wanted to compete in gymnastics. And so his first year going level 5 gymnastics, my first year ever coaching competitive, we won first place all around at every single meet other than states. He took second place at states, and then they went to regionals, and he got first place at regionals, not because he earned it necessarily, but because the boy who beat him at states fell on the support hold on rings. He was muscling up to support hold on rings, and his arm kicked out, and he fell. So, okay, this kid was a competitor. He taught himself how to do circles on the mushroom. He bought himself a mushroom, was doing like 100 circles a day type of thing. He was teaching himself how to have, all the toe point and all. And I was just going along for the ride. And he's a level 5. He was a competitor. And he would watch videos and he would learn how the scoring system works. And he was training himself. I was mostly just facilitating his own work ethic. I didn't have to try hard. So a lot of the stuff we did was, I mean, he could have got where he was going with probably half the amount of work we put in, because half the stuff I was doing was probably just trash. It was just garbage in the sense of coaching. Maybe I only contributed like 25% in the sense of directional guidance. But he was the competitor. He took himself there, and he would have taken himself there with pretty much any coach, because I knew nothing. I didn't know what I was. We were literally learning routines inside of the competition. Like, we didn't actually know what the P-bar routine was, because in men's gymnastics at the time, I don't know if it's changed much because I don't coach anymore. But it was just text in a book. You just had a piece of paper with text in it. And like, you're reading it and you're like, no pictures. And you're like, I have no idea what this is. I've never coached competitively. I'm just reading text. And so we would go to the competition and we would think we knew what the routine's supposed to look like. And we'd go to the competition. We'd see somebody compete and get a really high score, and it looked totally different than what we thought it was. And we'd just go, just do that routine. That's how he didn't even have his, was it inlocates, dislocates? I think it was inlocates. He didn't even have he learned that at competition. We didn't even know how to swing on rings. Like, swinging on rings was a very foreign concept. And he learned it in competition from another coach. They took us through drills in the competition. So this is how wild this kid is as a competitor. He's learning things in competition, never practicing them, and then competing them and winning first place all around. Now, he did not win every event. He just averaged higher than everyone else averaged, essentially, across the board. Still a huge accomplishment. That's a competitor. Now, due to my own coaching ignorance and the advice of other people and not knowing anything, they advised that he was so good that he should go level 8. We should skip 7. It's too competitive, and we'll just go level 8. So he went from 5 to level 8. And he failed miserably, because that's just too big of a jump. Wasn't a success. Wasn't prepared for it. As a competitor, that really crushed it. That was hard for him to have a bad season. You went from a dominant season to a failure. He was an emotional wreck. It should have never happened. He's a competitor. He's got to win. He's got to at least have a chance of winning. Not be so far outside of his element, his realm, that even the chance of winning is not a possibility. It just wasn't a success. Now, I've had performers. And I've had a couple other competitors come across my board. I had a girl who was first year or second year competing. She took first at states in her second year ever competing gymnastics. And I'm not saying this like, oh, that's so special, but for a kid it's their second year and I'm not having to try very hard and they're winning states and I'm not putting in a lot of effort, that's a competitor. And then I've had the performers. I've had the performers where, you go to competition and they dominate, they do well, they place, in the top 3, top 5 as an athlete on a certain event. But then when they go and train, they don't train anything like they compete. And so you're like, man, we can make you better. Like, you're third place at competition, we could get you to first place, but you don't train like you need to train to get to first place. So they put on the show at the competition, but they don't put in the training to actually change much. And then you have the kid who's the participant and they go and compete And they look just as bad as they did in training. And you're like, I'm not really this bad of a coach. I actually do know how to point, how to hold kids to an expectation to point their toes and straighten their legs. Like, I actually do know how to teach beam, and they're not always wobbly and shaky. This kid just doesn't want to actually apply themselves. So it's like, why are they even competing? And yet that's what you'll get. You'll get people who shouldn't be competing because they're participants. You'll get people who are not actually competitors, but because they're performers. So the parent is frustrated with the performer going, I know my kid could be better. I can see that they can perform, but they're never actually progressing, and they're kind of plateauing. And why don't you hold them to a higher standard inside of training? Why don't you get more out of them? And the parent is confused. You can turn a participant into a performer. You can turn a performer into a competitor, but this comes through maturity. They have to mature as an individual. They have to change perspective, and they have to gain understanding and knowledge of the sport to shift. You do not turn a participant into a competitor. You turn a participant into a performer. You turn a performer into a competitor. And can you get kids there? You can, but you have to understand that you're not asking a participant to be a performer. You're showing a participant how to perform. This goes back into that example. I'm not trying to turn a penguin into a lion. I'm showing a penguin how to become a lion. Okay, and so there's a difference there. I'm not trying to force something that's not going to be. I have to educate and give the knowledge and the perspective and the wisdom, and then I have to watch them mature. Now, obviously, a penguin is never going to turn into a lion, but in this case, it's more about what can I get out of you? Okay, what can I get out of you is one aspect of it, or what can you become is a different aspect of it. What can I get out of you is you're a participant, so I can only get out of you so much. But what can you become? Now I'm not hung up on what I get out of you. I'm hung up on what are you going to transform into. Hey, I'm glad you showed up. I'm glad you're here today. You're doing stuff. Stuff is good. It's great. What I want to know is there anything you can show that is better than the other stuff you do? I want to know if you can just turn it on for half a second and just show me something amazing. Wow me. Impress me. Do something that goes, that's fantastic. I don't care what it is. Pick it. Now I'm taking a participant and I'm planting a seed of how to become a performer, and I'm presenting that opportunity. Hey, consider becoming a performer. The performer is going to show up and perform. So that's great. I'm not going to get frustrated when you turn the performance off. That's not my question. Who cares? Okay, you go from average to great and back to average. I'm not going to let the average version of yourself bother me. What I'm going to ask the question is, why do you go back to average if you want something more? If wanting something more requires you to keep your performance going longer, then why would you go back to average? So here's the athlete on beam trying to learn a back handspring. They can perform wherever, and they get afraid, they have their issues, whatever, they're on beam, they're learning their back handspring, and I ask them the question, okay, why is it that your performance on the beam shifts, changes, when your performance on the floor has no problems? You do the back handspring on the floor, it looks beautiful. It's got energy, it's light, it's floaty, it looks great. Then you go to that low beam with mats, everything's safe, but you just change everything about how you do it. Why do you do that? They don't know. Well, and then you have to help talk. I'm afraid. I don't believe in myself. I don't think I'm actually going to succeed. I've never even considered I'm going to do it on a high beam. If I do it here, I'm going to have to put it on a high beam. I don't even want to do it on the high beam. Yes, that's very true. It's very true. You don't want to do it. Like, there's these roadblocks in front of you that's limiting your brain to think beyond the problem of what you really, really want. So your performance decreases. So we need to discuss why performance is decreasing and then find a reason to push through that. Conversation I had with athletes just a couple of days ago is, and we're using beam, we were on beam, is they had the ability to do level 10 skills on a beam, but they didn't want to. They didn't want to push through the fear. Now, there's not a fear in a bad way. It was just a fear of desire and will. They put inside their mind all the reasons why they're not going to be able to do whatever it is they're trying to do, and there was nothing beyond that they really wanted. And so they were not trying to reach through their fear to get what they really wanted. They were using their fear as an excuse to not even try. And so they were in a performance problem. They had the performer mindset. I'll perform when it's easy. I'll perform when it's comfortable. But the moment something becomes difficult, I don't really want to try. And so then they stopped applying themselves. And I had to shift the perspective to say, If you stop trying, you're proving to yourself that you don't actually want something. So what is it that you want? Like today you could do level 10 skills on a beam, but you don't actually want level 10 skills. That's a performer. You take a competitor and put them in that mindset. You go to a competitor and you say, today you could do level 10 skills on a beam. Do you want to? They're like, heck yeah. They're like, what do I got to do? And they will grind and they will go get it. And within one day, you're just like, all right, you just went from, double back handspring to back handspring back tuck on a beam, no problem. That's a competitor. Performer goes, I want it, but there's something in the way and it's uncomfortable, so I don't really want it that bad. I'll just keep performing the things the performer is the kid who, should be doing back walkovers on the beam because they can, but you see them in the corner doing cartwheels really nicely. And you're like, why are you doing cartwheels really? Like, you don't need to do cartwheels really nicely anymore. We have that. Go get the back walkover. That's the performer. The competitor is the kid who's like, I got the cartwheels. Can I get to the back walkover, please? I got the back walkover. Can I get to the back handspring? And they're going. You have to slow them down. You have to pull them back. And you're like, hey, you actually need to lock in and get this stuff a little bit better because we can't just keep grinding away. We'll go too fast. Hopefully this is helpful. I don't know. This is hopefully helpful in understanding that there's 3 types of athletes. There's the participant, the performer, and the competitor. And my encouragement to you is this, that you can turn one into the other if you're not focused on trying to force the participant to become the competitor. You have to shift the participant into a performer, the performer into a competitor. And you have to look at them for what they are, and you have to give them the knowledge and the understanding on it and wait for the maturity to come. Because the biggest eye-opening experience I had as a coach, I don't coach as much anymore, that's why I'm making these videos. But the biggest eye-opening experience I had was realizing I don't have to repeat myself. I don't. What I need to do is transform, help grow, mature the participant into a performer, the performer into a competitor. And when I get my whole entire group competitor, I don't have to repeat myself. We just do. We just work. We just grind. It's easy. That's the competitor shows up. So instead of trying to get the participant skills and levels and progressions, I didn't put any of my energy in that. I to this day, right now, if you said, Raleigh, I want you to come coach my gym, I want you to come work with my girls, I would focus on identifying who's a participant, who's a performer, and who's a competitor. I would take the competitor and I would just open every single door for them and let them go. I would take the performer and I would challenge them to why do they stop performing? And I would put them in situations that prove that the performance stops and they have no reason for it to stop. And I would be challenging them. Why do you allow your performance to stop? Let's do this thing that I know you could do, but why are you stopping? Why are you holding yourself back? Till they understand that they need to be a performer 24/7, which turns them into a competitor. And the participants, I would be helping them to find out what they like. What do you like? What are you doing that you enjoy? What is the thing you like to do on bars? You like to do that thing on bars? Do it 100 times. I wouldn't allow the participant to do things they don't like because I need to turn them into a performer. And so if I'm going to turn them into a performer, I got to focus on the things they like. And I just got to go with it. Because the competitor will do the things they don't like because they have to win. And so they're willing to put in the extra numbers, the reps. They're willing to do the drills and the skills and the progressionary steps. They're willing to put in whatever it is to win. That's the competitor. But the participant is never going to become a performer if the participant is doing things they don't like. If they're eye rolling and body languaging and sighing, all right, on bars today, we're going to be doing, 100 leg lifts. I wouldn't give that as a real example, but let's just say that we did that. The participant, if they hear that, 100 leg lifts, they're like, this is stupid. Why do I got to do this? I'm not even going to try. I don't even want to do this. 100 leg, what is this going to help me for? That's the participant. The performer's like, all right, maybe I'll do 5 nice ones and then give up on the 95. The competitor's like, if this takes me 4 hours, I will do every single one perfect. I don't care how long it takes. I'm just going to do them excellent. And I don't care. I'm just going to do it. And so we change our assignments. It's so common. Like you as a coach will change your assignment for the lowest common denominator. You know this from school. You go to school, you hang out with a group of people, and the teacher changes the material for the dumbest person in the room. You're going to shift your assignment for the participant because you're trying to get them on board with the assignment. Don't do that. Don't do that at all. Keep the assignment dialed in for the competitor, always. I learned this from another gym in Nevada. I went to a camp there, and they said that you need to always train to the highest ability athlete in your group, and that pulls everyone else along. That's interesting. If I did that, nobody would get any better, I'm thinking inside my head. Like all my bottom level kids, all my participants would just check out. But there's an understanding that the point is I'm not trying to train my participants to stay as a participant. I'm not trying to train my performers to stay as a performer. I'm trying to transform them into the next. And so what I need to do, taking it to another level, is not just pigeonhole everyone into the assignments that the competitor needs. I need to take an assignment that is applicable to all three, the same assignment, and I need to shift how they see the assignment themselves. Shift how the participants see the assignment. Hey, we're going to do 100 leg lifts. You're going to hate it. It doesn't make any sense to you. Why would you want to do this? Participants like, yeah, you understand me. Good. I'm not actually expecting you to hit 100 leg lifts. I'm just giving a ridiculous number to just see how you shift to that mindset. You know, if you could really just do one really good one, that'd be amazing. If you could do two, that's awesome. All I really care about is how many really nice ones you could do. If you get to 5, you're going to do fantastic. If you could get to 10, super impressed. So don't even get hung up on the number 100. I'm just looking for performance out of you. What can you do well? The performer, hey, I know that I'm giving you 100, and you probably could bust out really a 10 really nice leg lifts, right? You could probably do 10. The performer's like, yeah, I could do 10. I could do 10 really nice ones, but I'm 95, I'm going to do sloppy because I'm just not going to care anymore. Right. So at some point, you're going to stop caring. Is that true? And the performer's going to be like, yeah, at some point I will stop caring. What's that number? 15, 20. Okay. At that point in time, when you stop caring, I want you to understand something. That moment that you stop caring is the difference between you getting what you want and always being in the same position. So when you go to that point inside your mind, you say, I don't want to care anymore. I just want to try sloppy. I want you to take a break. I want you to rest and gather your thoughts. And I want you to take as long as you need to get back into your mindset of performance. And then I want you to give me another set of whatever you did that you did well. So if you did 5 really well and you go, I don't want to do any more really well, stop, breathe, and then come back and do 5 really well. And I want to see how many reps or how many sets you can do in that order. The competitor, we have 15 minutes to get 100 leg lifts in. I don't even know if it's possible. It probably isn't. It's probably a ridiculous assignment that's not even going to make sense. In fact, it's going to destroy your core. You probably won't be able to do any gymnastics tomorrow, and you're going to have to take the day off, and it's going to be terrible. It's going to be the most miserable experience. But it would be crazy if you actually pulled this off. 100 leg lifts, I don't think anyone would want to do. This is a wild idea. You up for this? Competitor's like, heck yeah, I'm up for this. Let's do something crazy and wild. And if it destroys my core and I can't even laugh tomorrow, sounds fun to me. That's what the competitor wants. Now, I'm not saying you should give 100 leg lifts as an assignment, but I'm using this as an example so you can see the extremes and how you need to play within everybody's, skill set essentially, and how you're trying to transform them into what they're being. And you have to give the competitor an assignment that gets them excited about competing. It's a challenge that feels at the edge impossible, but a challenge that actually still could be achievable. That competitor needs that. If you just go, okay, you got 10 minutes to get 10 leg lifts in, the competitor don't care. There's nothing to compete. They already know they won. You need to give them something to compete for. And they want to know that they're going to dominate. And so that's what the competitor is chasing. So these are the ways that I have sort of framed my mind to help me coach better. And this is the reason why I don't chase drills and I don't chase progressions and I don't chase all this other stuff, because I've identified if I'm trying to teach a kip to somebody, the only reason why they're not doing what I'm asking is because they're a participant. I need to get them to become a performer. You get the person who's trying to learn how to kip, but they don't even glide. They don't even jump to the bar properly. It's like you don't even start it off well. You're just participating. You're not here to perform. The performer does they jump to the bar correctly, they do a nice glide, and the whole thing falls apart. Okay, they don't have the perseverance and the resilience to actually keep it all the way through. So they're performing. They're doing the stuff they can do well, and when the skill gets hard, they give up. And the competitor, you say do a kip, and they might jump to the bar okay, they might glide okay, but they just make it happen. They're like, even if things are not perfect, I will make a way to make this happen. I will find it and make it happen. That's the competitor. You don't have to do anything. You're just like, holy smokes, you can kip. And that's the difference. And so oftentimes the drills, these ideas that we are seeing on the internet that people are giving you advice for and saying, hey, do this thing, they're speaking to the participant. They're speaking to the performer. They're not speaking to the competitor. And the irony of this whole story of what I'm trying to say and how you're going to hopefully discern what you're watching and the advice you're taking in and how do I know what is valuable versus not valuable. Hopefully this will help filter some of that. But the irony of this whole situation is I'll watch girls doing these drills, and they look phenomenal. Like these girls are doing these really small little drills, movements, hollow positioning, shape shifting, just little stuff that you're like, wow, that girl looks amazing. She doesn't need that. That girl does not need that drill. The coach is showing you a drill with a girl that knows how to perform to say, look at what this girl can do. Who cares? That little tiny funny little drill thing that you're doing that looks so creative and clever and the girl looks so clean and perfect is not gymnastics. She's not competing that. And so somebody will look at that and be like, oh, I should make my girls look like that doing that drill. Are they competing that? No, they're not. And you know what they're doing? They're taking a top level, a competitor, and they're showing you a drill that they're using for participants. Well, go show me a participant doing that drill. It's going to have problems in it. They're not going to have the proper head position, core shape, squeezing their butt. Whatever it is, you take a participant and you put them in that drill and it doesn't work. And so what do? You, as a coach, you go, okay, I like this drill. This would really work well for my participants. And then you're thinking, if I can only get my participants to look like them, then clearly it means the drill is working. That's not true. It's not true at all. If you give me a competitor, I can put them in any drill and they're just going to make it look good. The drill has nothing to do with turning them into the competitor. I can take a competitor. You could give me a drill that I've never used before, give me a competitive athlete that they've never done the drill before, and I can say, hey, go do that drill. And then they'll learn it, they'll do it, and it'll look great. And then I can post that on the internet and someone goes, oh, that drill must be the reason why they look this way. No, they look that way because they're a competitor, not because the drill. And that's the silliness, because Raleigh, this can't be true, right? Is it really this simple? This is what you should be thinking of in your head. Like, is it really that? Yes, it is. I'm telling you it is this simple because there's proof and evidence. Go watch the Olympics and go look at how many mistakes different girls do in the Olympics. Mistakes. Why are they in the Olympics if these drills that they can lock in on and do so perfectly, why are they still making mistakes in the Olympics? Because that's not the prerequisite to getting to the Olympics. The prerequisite to getting to the Olympics is not, can you do this random Yurchenko drill properly? It doesn't matter. Girl's going to do it doesn't even matter what skill. I mean, the thing that sticks out inside my head is there's an Olympian that was on the USA team a couple cycles ago, and her leaps are just, they were not Olympic level leap quality. Okay. They weren't. Her tumbling pass was extraordinary. Her tumbling pass was like crazy. Like, wow, you just threw a ridiculously hard tumbling pass and your leaps look average. And she made it to the Olympics. Now, what I have inside my head, because I see this, you go to camps and clinics and you go to Congress and you listen to somebody talk about all this dance technique and leap technique and da-da-da, blah, blah, blah. And you go, okay, I got to get more kicking. I got to get straight legs. We got to get to 180 degrees split, and you're going through the levels, right? You're going through level 5, level 6, level 7. Oh, I got a switch leap on a beam at level 7 and it's flat. Aren't you amazing? Who cares? The time you spent wasted on that is because you took it's the question you have to just ask yourself. Was it a competitor that I asked to do a switch leap on a beam or a participant? Because if it was a competitor, bing, they got it. Not hard. And even if the competitor did a switch leap and they weren't perfectly flat, you just know, give them a few months, they'll be flat. Participant, you go ask them to do a switch leap on a beam, you're going to be spending 47 drills later trying to get them to split jump flat. You're going to be working all this stuff because that's our participant. Your leap conditioning, your leap exercises exist because you're dealing with in a participant mindset and a performer mindset and not a competitor mindset. Every competitive athlete I've had in women's gymnastics, I didn't have to condition ridiculously hard to get a flat split jump. They just did it. Like, you give them a couple months, they do their flexibility, they learn how to jump, and bam, I have a flat split jump. Wow, why is that so easy? Because that's who they are as people. All the drills and all the stuff comes from trying to train participants to perform like performers, performers to compete like competitors. That's where all these drills and these ideas come from. But if you take a competitor and you just drive them into the direction that they need to go, which is competition, you're not going to take the competitor and have them compete a drill. Oh my goodness, my competitor's competing this drill and they're so good at it. You don't care about that. I don't care if my competitive athlete can do some cool leap drill. I care if my competitive athlete can do a switch full or a leap 1.5. That's what I care about my competitive athlete can do. And if they can do a switch full and they're not perfectly flat or they're dragging their leg a little bit, do I care? Not really. Because that kid's going level 9, 10. I'm not going to hold them back at level 7 because their switch full is, not flat. They got to switch full. So I'm gonna be like, that's good enough. We'll get it better over time. I can trust that you will. In fact, if we just compete it through season, because season is ridiculously long, it's likely to improve. And you're a competitive person, so of course it's going to get better. You're going to go to competition, meet one. You're going to get a deduction on your leap. You're going to say, hey, do I really want 2/10 off my leap? And they're going to be like, the answer's going to be like, no, I'm not. And so when we go into training, you're actually going to care more about all the nuances that need to happen inside your switch full. And then you're going to do them because you're competitive. And then you're going to go to the second meet and you're going to get 1/10 off. And then you're going to go to the third meet and you're going to get 0.5 off. Then you're going to go to the fourth meet, you're going to get 0.25 off, 0.25 off. And that's what you're going to do because you're a competitor. And I don't have to try that hard. That's the beauty of it. That literally is the beauty of it because you're competitive. And what do? No, we try to set up kids who are participants. We try to compete them. They're not ready. We take performers and we try to compete them, but they never progress and they cap out on the levels. And we're so happy when we find a competitive kid and we think that it's their talent. We think that it's just that they're competitive. Like you could surmise, if you watch my video on why kids quit and you understand the numbers, you could kind of infer that because the numbers basically said level 3, 4, between both of them had about 40,000 girls participating. And then like level 10 had like 2,000. It's like 2,200. So like 5% of the 40. You could almost say that 5% of girls are actually competitive. Which statistically might actually make a lot of sense because women are not typically inclined in sports, and as nature, Mattel actually did a study on this. They gave girls a set of toys and they gave boys a set of toys, same toys, and they wanted to see how they played because it's Mattel. They're a toy making company. They want to see how they play so they can make toys according to their audience. What they identified is that the boys would take a good guy and a bad guy and make them fight each other. And the girls would make the good guy and bad guy become friends. Now, what does that say about your competitive nature? See, if I'm naturally inclined to demolish and destroy somebody because it's a good guy, bad guy, and somebody's got to win, good guy, bad guy, someone's got to win. I have 2 boys, okay? I have children, and they're always wondering who's the bad guy, who's the good guy, and who gets to win. They want to know all the time. Girls, coaching girls, majority of my career, they love being friends. I've had athletes in my groups where 2 girls are really good friends, and the one who's slightly better doesn't want to move up in level, doesn't want to move up in skill because she's afraid it'll make her friend feel bad. And so she holds herself back for the benefit of her own friend. Wow, that's amazing. Like, that's a really nice friend. Is that going to get her gymnastics? Not really. But it's a pretty cool friendship to have. Is she competitive? Probably not. But she's a great friend. If we're going to measure friendship like that, at least we know the level of care for this person is very high. And this is what we will oftentimes see. And this is what the statistics will show us. 5% of the girls want to outperform 95% of everybody else. That's what they want to do. They want to dominate. Only 5%. Now, do I think that it's only 5%? Like if I had a total sum of girls, would it only, no, I actually think, this is my hypothesis. This is what I present to you as a hypothesis. I can't prove this, but in my understanding of coaching and maturing over the years, I've come to this understanding. I can get a group to be close to 95% competitor, and maybe the last 5% is performer type of thing. Like you give me 10 girls, and I can get at least 9 of them, maybe 8.5, but basically 9 of them, maybe 9.5, somewhere between there. So 85 to 95%. I say 0.5 because usually you get one person who's half on, half off type of thing. I could get like 9 out of 10 girls to become competitive. And one girl maybe be a straggler and she's still not fully bought in. But eventually she might become one. But typically, I can get there. And because I understand this now, I go look at a group and I'm like, okay, participant, performer. Oh, I got a couple competitors. Okay, cool. I know how to adjust my assignments. I know the conversations I need to have to each of them, and I know where I'm supposed to push them. I don't got to worry if our split jumps are going to get flat. I don't got to worry. Competitors, yes. Performers, maybe. Participants, never. It doesn't matter how many drills I'm going to do. Yes, they'll get better over time. It's going to be so slow, it's going to be a waste of my time. I need them. I need my participants to become competitors, and then bam, gymnastics happens. It just happens. Like the most skills are so easy to do from a competitor mindset that it'd be far better and more advantageous for you to get the mindset shift to happen than hyper focus on the skills and drills and steps and progressions and blah, 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 blah. You just don't need it. You just don't. Another last point I will say, men's gymnastics. A lot of these guys learn by just hucking and chucking things, and they just do. They huck, chuck, and do. And then when they do, they just make it better after they do. What does that tell you about them? They're competitive. They don't care about accidentally killing themselves. They will just make something happen, and they'll just like, I don't know what the proper technique is, but let's just go for it. And they make it happen. That's a competitive mindset. That is not a participant mindset. And so why is it that men's gymnastics doesn't need all the same drills and progressions and steps that women's gymnastics has essentially? Because men are far more competitive. I am telling you, I'm 100%, I believe in this so wholeheartedly because I've seen it time and time again, that competitive athletes do not need magical coaches. They don't. They don't need magical drills. They don't need magical progressionary steps. They just need to be told what direction to go in, and they go. That's what a competitive athlete needs. That's the competitive mindset. Hopefully you can kind of see that in me a little bit. I am not a performer. I am not a participant. I am a competitive person. I want to become really good at what I do. I want to understand what I'm doing really well, and I want to have the little edge above everybody else. That's what drives me. This YouTube channel that I'm putting together, I don't have the best editing. I know that. I don't have the best lighting. I'm not using the best camera. I got a silly cord that's flapping over. I understand. I see all of it. What I'm trying to do right now is bring the most value in conversation. That's the only thing I know I can do well right now. I'm going to compete in bringing value of conversation to my channel. When I get my audience to a certain number, so I'm competing for a number of subscribers. Once I get to that number, then I will start shifting what I'm competing for. Right now, I'm competing for your attention. Right now, I'm competing for your trust. Right now, I'm competing to prove that what I'm saying actually holds value. Because why do you care about a guy like me? You don't know who I am. You don't know if you could trust anything I have to say. And I don't want you to. I want to tell stories and I want to explain things and help you shift perspective because a lot of coaches are participants. Some coaches are performers and very little coaches are competitive. A lot of coaches think they're competitive, but they're actually performers. They're performers because they throw a bad attitude every time they lose. Competitors don't care. Like if you're a competitor, you don't care about losing because losing is a lesson to be learned so that you can win. Performers have a bad attitude when they lose. They get mad and frustrated and they're emotional. Performers are emotional. Competitors are not emotional. You can tell even in my response when somebody left a comment and said, this is just so you can see where I'm coming from and see that I actually believe this and see that I actually live this out. Okay. There's someone left a comment on one of my videos and saying that basically my video was annoying and toxic and blah, 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 whatever. And my competitive nature came out. I don't care if that's their opinion and that's how they feel. That's great. They're allowed to feel that way. I doubled down on where I'm coming from and the direction I'm going to say, go for it. You can say anything you want to about me. That doesn't faze me because I know where I'm going. I know where I'm going. I know the direction I'm headed in, and that's where I'm going to end up. And nothing anybody says in my comments or about me, or even if I lose half my subscribers, it's not going to stop me from going where I'm going to be going because I will get there. That's competitive mindset. It's not asking the question for permission. Will you, I hope if you like me, maybe I can get, no. I don't need you to like me. Because what I need is me to bring value. And the more value I bring, then the more impact it will have. And it has nothing to do with whether you like me or not. And then as I have these conversations over and over again, and as you hear them more and more, and as you see my face more and more, and as you start to go, man, you know what? Raleigh said this. I went out and I experienced my life. And then I realized, holy crap, the things he said actually predicted what I'm actually doing with my life. And you go, oh, I think what he's saying might have some credence. I think there might be some value here. I don't like the guy. His videos suck. You could feel however you want to, but if I can speak and bring value into what you're actually doing, you're much more likely to buy into what is actually happening, and you're going to overlook the things you don't like because you're going to start to see the value that happens, and that's huge because the competitor is, if you get a competitive mindset. You're not sitting there worried about the delivery. You're not sitting there worrying about any of that. You're like, feed me what I need to know so I can win. That's it. That's the competitive mindset. And so as you're watching the videos, you might be a participant, you might be a performer, you might be a competitor. I am helping, hopefully, you shift mindsets from being a passive person in your own journey, in your own life, passively going through it, to becoming an active person who actually is chasing after something, with being empowered with the ability to actually achieve whatever it is you're chasing after, not buying into the illusions and the lies that are easily being sold because they don't actually get you to your end destination. They don't. Be very, very cautious, and this is very, very last point. Success is not accurately understood, nor described, nor accurately measured. There's a lot of people who are successful not because the process that they went through was the best, but because the people who they're competing against were not very good. And so there's an illusion with success. You can be successful, like I had my athlete be successful at competition. He wins first place at regionals, his first year ever competing, all around. Did he earn it? You could make an argument, yeah, he did because he showed up and blah. But was he really the best at level 5? Well, yeah, because the kid messed. I'm going to say that he got lucky that somebody else didn't have their best day. I'm not going to say he was the best. Because had he had an off day, okay, he showed up and gave his best that day, but he could have showed up any other day and not given his best and had an off day. And this happened to me too when I went to Western Nationals level 9. My athlete made it into, she was the last, top 6 or something like that. She made 6th place because the athlete who beat her all year long fell on a cast a handstand at regionals. So she's at regionals, the girl keeps cast handstands on the high bar, falls off the bar. Boom, my athlete's in 6th place. Did she do it because she was so good at gymnastics? No, she needed somebody else to make a mistake. And if I need somebody to make a mistake to win, that's not really dominating. That's not really being competitive. That's waiting for somebody else to hand you something because you don't know how to get it yourself. And so I want you to understand that for me, success is not hinging on somebody else's failure. Success is knowing how to be equipped for whatever comes your way and still being able to dominate and still being able to overcome any obstacle that comes your way because you are prepared for it. That's success. And so while, yes, there are people who can say they have had certain success, the process that they may have gone through may not actually be the best process for the broad range of all humans. Like the way gymnastics has shifted now. I remember being at National Congress. It was said that there was an athlete, Olympian, And the only reason why she was this coach is speaking about her athlete. And she said, the only reason why I was able to go elite as a coach is because this child's parents were so absent from her life, I could coach her however I needed to. That sounds like abuse. And that was spoken at National Congress before the whole shift happened, if you know what I'm talking about. That was being promoted. Oh, just have absent parents so you can coach how you need to, and then you can get somebody to the top. Of course, if I abuse somebody, I can get them to do all sorts of things, but is that the way we're supposed to be coaching? So is that how we're supposed to measure success? Well, I made it to the Olympics, so I know what I'm doing. Really? Again, this is a framework and a perspective and a way of understanding so that you don't have to do things certain ways to get people to the top, but you can have a better understanding of how to build properly through the steps to get somebody to the top in the most healthy, appropriate way possible. And this is how I understand it. Participants, performers, competitors. Have a blessed day. Leave a comment. Let me know what you learned, what you understand. Let me know if this rings true to you. If you go, yeah, Raleigh, I've experienced this and now I get it. Let me know if you don't get it, if you don't understand. Let me know if you think my videos are too long. Maybe I should make them shorter. Anyways, be blessed. Have a great day. Talk to you later. Bye.